feeling of being wrong, there's something wrong with you. It is really common. It is possibly one of the most connecting experiences that the neurodiverse community has. Hi, welcome to Somewhere on the Spectrum. I'm Emma. Today, I want to talk about the thing that we think where there's something wrong with us. I think that's pretty common. I would say almost all of the people that I've met so far that are specifically late diagnosed autistic people have spent most of their life thinking there's something wrong with them. I say specifically late diagnosed. In the people that I've met so far, there does seem to be a difference for those people who were diagnosed earlier, not always, but sometimes, and those people who were raised in a neurodiverse house where the parent was totally okay with who they are. The parent was okay with themselves and they were okay with their kid too. In that kind of environment, the kids seem to have a stronger sense of, I'm fine as I am, I don't have to change for anyone. And that develops as they grow older into a stronger sense of that too. For those of us who didn't grow up in that environment or who grew up in neurodiverse households where the parents had been trying to fix themselves and fit in all their lives, then I think it goes the opposite direction and we end up feeling like there must be something wrong with us. So if that is you, stick around. So this is a really common thing. For me, certainly my entire life, I felt like there was something wrong with me. So for me, I vividly remember when we moved schools when I was 10, we moved to Scotland. It was a totally different place. I remember thinking there must be a book. Now, it's not surprising. Books were everything to me as a kid, and they kind of still are. So for me, I felt like the answer must be in a book. And what I thought was that other people have a book. They have a textbook, and it must be telling them how to talk to each other or how to make friends. And I don't have that book. I don't know where to get that book. I don't know how to do this because they seem to be doing it quite well, and I'm having trouble doing this. So first it was about like, where is the book? Where is the textbook? Why don't I have one? Then it was that feeling of not fitting into my social group, particularly as, again, 10, that kind of age into early teenage. I wanted to be friends with girls. I was friends with boys, but that period of time, what started to happen is the boys started to see me as girlfriend material as opposed to a friend. And so they began to feel more hostile to me. So I wanted to be friends with girls, but I couldn't seem to manage it. I just wanted to be friends with everybody. And there were clearly things I did not understand. There were cliques, there were ways of behaving, there were ways of talking, there were conversations to be had. I did not understand any of those things. And I kind of frankly still don't, you know. When I listen to neurotypical conversations and they're talking about families and play equipment, and I'm usually talking about politics and the environment. And culture, it's different. So then this feeling develops into, there must be something wrong with me, because what you tend to find as you go through is you're always the problem. Whether it's at school or later at work, you're always the problem. You're being fired from work or you're being ghosted by friends. It's always you, right? And everybody else is still friends. At one point when I was in Korea, I noticed this pattern had developed that I would make friends with someone and then I make friends with someone else, and then I'd meet up with the three of them for dinner, and those two would become best friends, and then I would be like, okay. And very often those two are still best friends today, and I'm like, cool, that's great. So this feeling of being wrong, there's something wrong with you. It is really, really common. It is possibly one of the most connecting experiences that the neurodiverse community has. I could be exaggerating, but feel like that's kind of right. The answer, of course, is that you're neurodiverse. That's the key. That's the piece of equipment that you needed. You're neurodiverse. You are not like all of those people. You're not. Your brain does not work the same way as them. Their brains are connected for social connection. That is the priority of a neurotypical brain, is social cohesion and social connection. Our brains are prioritized in a completely different way. And what's confusing for, I think, most people is that our brains are connected individually. All of the neurotypical brains are connected for social cohesion and connection to greater or lesser amounts for sure, but that's the main driver. For us, for some folks, it's about sensory things. For some folks, it's about special interests. Like everybody has particular things that we're connected for. For some of us, it is about social connection and social cohesion, but that's going to look different to how it does for neurotypical people. In addition, it may be all of our sensory things, or it may just be one sensory thing that we're connected for, and we can be extremely overwhelmed just by that one thing. Ultimately, what I have to tell you is you're not wrong in the sense that your brain is different. So yes, your brain works differently. There is something wrong with you from that sense. It's not fitting into the common society that we are currently living in. You don't fit. There are two things we have to do about that. Number one, find where you fit. So I'd say as someone who is relatively new to this journey, or maybe you've been on this journey for a while, you need to find your people. You could find your people here in the comment section, and hopefully I'm going to be running groups at some point. If people want that, you need to connect with other neurodiverse people, whether that is through local charities, through events, taking your kids to things and talking to the parents and finding out that you're all neurodiverse, whatever, I don't care. You need to find ways to find your people. Some of the things might be in your special interests. For example, major Terry Pratchett fan, going to the Terry Pratchett conference, there was a lot of my kind of people at that conference. There weren't really people that I disliked at the conference. Everybody was a little bit off the wall. Everybody was very sweet and kind. So going and finding people who like the same things that you like is often a good way to find your people. But also do please look into the neurodiverse communities where you are and online, because being able to talk to people who are also neurodiverse is the best way to build your confidence and to help you feel like I'm not crazy after all. I run women's groups for a local autistic charity where I live. And basically what happens is people come into my group all like, I'm not good at being social. I'm not good in these environments. I don't know what to do. And then within usually about 10 minutes, somebody says something and the whole room goes, oh yeah, me too. And they go, what? All of you? And we go, yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's a big one. I thought I was the only person who did that. Or I thought I was the only person who felt like that. No, we all feel like that. Oh, so that experience for often the first time in people's lives, that experience of being in a room full of people whose existence feels very similar to yours and who relate to your experiences really, really hard is a relief. It's a real relief. You know, for most of us, when we've had those kind of conversations, people go, huh? What? You're weird. And that's like, oh, and that's often made us very rejection sensitive to social situations, right? So yes, find your people. That's a big one. The second thing though, is I kind of want you to embrace it. And I didn't at first. One of my earlier videos, I talk about the phases that we go through after diagnosis. And this is one of the challenges with that is it's not an immediate, like, get your diagnosis, feel better situation. No, you get your diagnosis and you go, oh, whew, I've got my diagnosis. Great. Now I know what's wrong with me. Perfect. Job done. What? Job not done? What? And it turns into this huge roller coaster of things that you need to learn and do and try, and your brain starts unraveling and it just turns into absolute chaos. For many people, the diagnosis is the beginning of the journey, not the end of the journey, which in and of itself is a very stressful discovery. But somewhere down the line, you may hopefully start to feel like, maybe I'm not so bad after all. Not even that. Would you actually want to be neurotypical? Like looking at the world right now that is the epitome of a late stage capitalist patriarchy that is founded in colonialism and badass Christianity, that is led by people who have no moral backbone. Do you want to be neurotypical? Do you want to be part of that gang? I don't. I really don't. This environment, for the first time in my life, is making me feel like I'm so glad that my brain is not focused on social cohesion. I'm so glad that my brain does not care when I choose to maintain my own moral standards with my own moral compass rather than following the peer pressure from my friends. When I choose to go it alone rather than feel like I have to go along with what everybody else is doing. When I choose to be kind purposefully rather than taking the low road and hurting people. Even things like when I go outside, I can see I can find the squirrels. I can see the swifts. I can count how many kites are in the sky. Sure, neurotypical people birdwatch. Fine. Yeah, they do, for sure. The acuity and speed of my eyesight is not the same as the neurotypical people around me. I have regularly been told, like, wow, I can't see that. How did you spot that? That's the way my eyes work. That's my sensory advantage. And I wouldn't give it up for anything, because the way that I see the world, I can see something that's worth keeping, that's worth enjoying, that's worth connecting to, embracing, protecting, just for existing. It doesn't have to do anything for me. It doesn't have to produce anything for me. I'm just happy to be in it, surrounded by it. Yesterday I went for a walk and 4 butterflies flew up off the path. That was my day. Good, perfect, sorted, done. That was the coolest thing to happen in my day. And I could fully appreciate that moment. I could fully appreciate all of the trees around me that had given me that moment. I don't think I want to give that up. I don't think I can give that up. So yeah, it's really hard being neurodiverse in a neurotypical world. Absolutely. And right now, major suckage. But this moment is teaching us, I hope, that we were not wrong. When everybody told us you're too sensitive, we're not too sensitive. They're not sensitive enough. That's the problem. When everybody told us you're too sensitive to justice, too sensitive to justice? How can you be too sensitive to justice? Why is it a problem that we think hurting and killing people is bad? The only reason it would be a problem that hurting and killing people is bad is if you intentionally wanted to hurt and kill people on a regular basis. And if that's the world that's been created, we're not the wrong ones. We're not the crazy ones. We're not the bad ones. We're the sane ones. And I think that's really the point that I want you to take home. They've been gaslighting us all along, our whole lives. They've been gaslighting us because it doesn't fit the current climate. It doesn't fit the world that has been built for us to come out loud and proud and say, you're wrong. The world is important. The birds, the trees, the purity of water is important. The kindness is important. The children are important. And your priority of money is incorrect. It is the wrong way to balance our planet. And it is the wrong thing to look for and hope for and work towards. Yes, sure, have money, fine. But to center it in your life and your world, nope. We're not wrong. So there is nothing wrong with you. That's the takeaway from today. There's nothing wrong with you. It does make you furious when you start to see this. It does make you furious, but it also makes you more powerful. It makes you stronger. It makes you sit back in your power and not allow people to gaslight you anymore and take the place that you have a right to take, because you're not wrong. Your moral compass is likely right. And a lot of them don't have a moral compass. They have a social compass. You have a moral compass. That's bonkers to me. Like, what? How do you not have one? That's a whole other video. Anyway, I hope this was useful. I hope you find some strength to lean in and sit into your power. I hope you can start to appreciate the things that you do have. You are important and of value to the world just as you are. Please like, subscribe if you liked this video. You can head off to the Patreon to support me. You're very welcome to connect with me over there. And also, if you have things that you are super proud of, that you are grateful to have, that you appreciate being part of your neurodiversity, that help you know that you are not wrong, there's nothing wrong with you, please drop them in the comments. I would love to see those. See you next time.